One. So this is Lou Martin, and I am on with my dear friend Siobhan Brady, who's one of the blazing light workers here in Ireland, and it's been a long time for us to chat, so it's great to reconnect. Siobhan, how are you today?
I'm really good, Lou. Yeah, I was trying to think this morning, when was the last time that we connected? It's a few years, is it?
Well, it's a good long while. Yeah, this was my excuse to catch up with you, you see.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm
Sure.
delighted to be here.
My pleasure. I'm thrilled to reconnect with you. So tell people what you do and a little bit about yourself, so we can give people a context of why we're chatting here.
Yeah, so my goodness, when people ask me what I do, I ultimately say I'm a healer. So but that umbrella covers many things. As I just say, I do Reiki, I do shamanic work, I do channeling, I do angelic work, psychic, mediumship. I do all of that, and I'm really finding, though, that I'm focusing a lot more on the shamanic at the moment, along with the Reiki. There's a lot of healing needed, big time, you know.
Oh God, yes.
And I love it. I really, really love the healing, because I love bringing people to that place, or helping them find that place in themselves to empower themselves and then take off. And it's just, it's amazing to see how even after one session or one workshop, people just turn themselves around. If they only knew, you know, because some people wait so long before they actually delve into that in their fear, they're afraid to go for it. But when they do, it's like everything else, you know, we say, oh my God, why didn't I do this before now? Why did I wait so long?
Sure.
So it's that element of that. And I just love to see people taking the ball and running with it, you know?
Yes, of course. And Hun, will you tell people how you got guided to do this work?
Back in 2011, I had what can only be described as a steam train. A steam train awakening, yeah, overnight, basically. It really was. Because I can't say, maybe I could look back now before that and say there might have been an odd little thing where I might have felt something, or, you know, but nothing that I can really sort of say, well, it started then, but apart from 2011. And it was literally overnight. I was singing with a choir. We were away on a trip. One of the guys in the choir started speaking to me about spiritual stuff, and talked about, funny enough, he had a pendulum, and he was showing me how to use a pendulum.
Right.
And it kept spinning way out of control over my hand, and so it was just, he kept going on about my energy. And then that was on the Friday night of the weekend that we were away. The Saturday, then I was high as a kite. Sunday, we came home on the bus, and I started hearing spirits speak.
Wow. Wow.
And it was here in my head, like just right there, and
Right.
it was Mary, 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 Mary. And I didn't realize,
Right.
I didn't know what this was until the next day. I realized then, when somebody else from Spirit came in, who was my uncle, and he spoke to me, woke me out of my sleep, actually, where I was taking a nap the following day. And his mother is my grandmother, and she's Mary, so it was her.
Wow. Okay.
And then it was roller coaster stuff from that on then, Lou. I basically was channeling straight away. I had angels coming in straight away.
Right.
I had an incident in an angel shop where God spoke to me, and that was the first time that God spoke to me. And when I started talking about that, and because I was so completely out of my body with all of this, people thought that I was having psychotic episodes, basically.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Anyone who's talking to God must be crazy, because God can talk to anyone.
Yeah. And spirit and angels. And I was really like, I was really high as a kite with it, because I was like a child at Christmas.
Sure.
And so then this was probably about 2 months in, and then in the heel of the hunt, and as we say here in this country, I ended up having to be assessed by the psychiatrist.
Oh, but that was fun.
Yeah, that was amazing. And then I spent 3 days in a psych unit.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, actually, do you know something?
Yeah.
I would say that 3 days was pretty amazing, apart from you know, the usual taking your phone and that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But watching the people and being in that scenario and seeing stuff, and really now being able to identify with people who are medicated off their heads, you know, for things that perhaps could be worked on in a different way.
Sure.
You know, that was, and it was really, there was one night we were all there, and I used to smoke in those days. We were all in the smoking area. Right. And if anybody had walked by, they'd think it was a pub we were in, because we were laughing, and it was, But then that all stopped when they put me on medication. So
Of course.
I was put on meds then, and I went into, I'd say, a good year and a half of really, really terrible, horrific,
Depression.
yes.
Yes, of course.
And I became a shadow light of myself. So that
Yes.
was the toughest time that I've ever gone through. But it
Sure.
was like the light was always there, only I didn't have the energy to kind of deal with it. And I had bought cards and I had bought books and I had all of them put away. I couldn't even be with myself, kind of thing. So
Sure.
then it just started to lift, and I got off the psychotic medicine pretty quickly. They still
Yes.
had me on what do you call those,
Depressing.
antidepressants, yeah.
Yes.
So I was still on them,
Right.
but things just started to lift then. And because I was so angry in the beginning as well, it was like, it was everybody else's fault that I was going through this when I knew there was nothing wrong with me, you know. But
Sure.
yet it gets me that time to really go within myself.
Sure.
So once I started to stop blaming
Yes.
and start owning,
Yes.
no matter whether it was right or wrong,
Yes, of course.
I started to lift, and then it started to flow in with me again. And I was a little afraid of it then again when it started to come in, because I was going, maybe I am mad. Maybe they were all right. Like maybe they were all correct about me, and I was mad, and I am mad. So I was a little afraid, but then it just started to come, and I was able to deal with it better then.
Sure.
Because I went on to do my Reiki, and I was brought back into my body, because literally I was out of my body for so long with the way the spirit came in. So I was able to just come back in and start dealing with stuff, and then
Sure.
things just started to move then. And it's just
Yeah.
been going since 2012, really, end of 2012 into 2013.
Right.
It's just boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Well, Siobhan, I'm so glad you're talking about this, because this, we were chatting a little bit before we got on here, and
Yeah.
this is really the battle that we're seeing, that I'm seeing unfold in the world, which is these clashes of the paradigms, two mutually exclusive belief systems, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, because it's like that word paradigm. I keep talking about it lately, and it's that innate, whatever we have consciously sucked up or subconsciously sucked up and then conditioned into us.
Yeah.
That's what we're battling all the time. And it's
Yeah.
this, we spoke about fear there before we started recording.
Yeah.
And it's like the fear.
Yeah.
And that fear, that the person who was concerned about me and spoke to my doctor that I ended up in a psych unit, that was their fear.
Right.
And then that was projected onto me, and I sucked that up, thinking
Sure.
maybe they are right.
Sure.
And we're seeing it playing out today as well with all that's going on with, as you said, the paradigms. People are in such fear about, should I get a vaccine? Should I not get, especially with the COVID and all that. But it's playing out everywhere, So
Sure.
yeah, big stuff.
Yeah.
Big stuff.
Yeah. And don't we have the feeling here that this is the time we've been getting ready for throughout this lifetime? That we've never been more, important in terms of being able to give people a different perspective, a different choice, a different paradigm, as we're saying, to be able to think outside the box.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel, I kind of relate to it as, we're all on the same journey. We all want to get to that place of, like, say, peace, happiness, balance, whatever in our lives.
Sure.
We're all doing it in our own way. But sometimes we meet people on the path, and you could be just sort of at my garden gate, and you're going, hi, Siobhan, look, I've walked that path there. You come along this way and I'll show you what to do
Sure.
to help you maneuver around the whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'll come to meet you, and then maybe I'll go on a different way, and then I'll meet you again. But it's all about, we are choosing to experience what we're experiencing. And people may just be that one step ahead of you that can just turn around and go, I've been there. I know what's happening with you here. I can help you through this. And that's why there's such a mass awakening as well. So, and as you say, looking at it from outside the box and realizing that there's more there than this.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking the blinders off. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because, with everything that's happening at the moment, and, you might put up a certain post and you get a lot of controversial comments or whatever over, and that's not why I post anything. I'm not into doing it that way. I only post what I would believe in. But it's like, you know, you put these things up and then people are kind of going, oh my God, and you can see the fear in them.
Sure.
And
Sure.
they really ridicule you then for thinking differently. But
Sure.
I have to stop myself, and I have to, from getting annoyed with them, because
Sure.
that was me 10 years ago. I would have been the same. I would have
Sure.
been like, oh my God, what's happening here?
Sure.
We you know, let's get a cure, let's get a vaccine, let's get everything, pump it into us, like so that we don't die, or that, you know, and it's fear, 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 fear.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, honey. Yeah, no, I know. And honestly, darling, I think we're just we're just pushing our boat out into these new waters, you know, right now, because it's kind of like the battle lines have been drawn, and you know, as you're saying, we're kind of like, look, guys, I think this is the way, you know, but you know, do your best, and if you find a better way, I'll listen to your opinion. But the fear, the you know, of course, I think of Dolores Cannon, who spoke about the new earth and did such great work with so many guides, you know, over the years, and she talks about how the new earth has no fear and no karma.
Yes. And
And
she,
yeah, go on.
she held the space for so long,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
so
yes,
that we could come along in then. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
you know, it's the quote from my guides continues to be, you know, how good can you stand it, you know. And like you have said, you know, we've all paid the price of you know, the dark night of the soul. I mean, I've talked about my father's murder when I was 17 and not grieving about that until my awakening happened when I turned 30, and then you know, a long journey with grief. And I was mentioning this earlier, you know,
Yeah.
that part of what I see, the denial that we're all struggling with and the fear, is the disowned grief that the world has suddenly changed, and we don't want to accept that it's changed. You know, we want everything to, whatever we have to do to get back to normal, and there isn't a normal to get back to, is the message you know, that I hear. So we get to create the new normal, and that's what we're really being asked to do, particularly those of us that have this connection with
Yeah.
spirit, to say it can be better, everyone. It can be much better.
Absolutely, yeah. The new earth. That's the thing. That's what I kept hearing there back in March, just before it was kind of, we were in the
Yeah,
kind of lockdown at the early stages. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's like, and that's what's coming. But you see, it's people's fear of stepping outside of what they know into what they don't know, and that's the big leap that people have to take. But I have also said that, you know, with all of this lockdown and everything, they didn't bank on the fact that people were going to be educating themselves and maybe awakening during this lockdown as well. So there is a lot of that happening. So I don't think, you know,
yeah,
I don't think
yeah,
everybody wants to go back to the normal as we would have known it. I
yeah,
think people are looking for something new now, because people are realizing, you know, I don't have to be on the road in my car two
yeah,
and 3 hours a day to and from work to an office,
yeah,
where I could be at home doing the same thing.
sure,
I don't have to spend as much time, you know, or energy buying food or clothes or all that kind of stuff that I don't really need, you
sure,
know. And we are realizing that there are simpler ways of becoming, yes.
yeah, yeah. It's getting
And
more focused. Yeah,
yeah, and having this time, I have to say, like, only in the last couple of weeks I've said, you know, I wouldn't mind now being able to go out and maybe meet somebody for a coffee or whatever. But before that, I was like, I'm totally just loving this,
sure,
because
sure,
and there was a time, Lou, I wouldn't have been able to sit with myself at all in my 20s, even into my 30s. I had to be going, I had to be meeting, I had to be
sure,
with people, because I couldn't sit with myself.
sure,
But
hun.
now I'm like, yeah, I've loved it, because I've learned so much about myself, and not all of it is pretty, as we said earlier
Sure,
before we went live. But it's so essential.
right. Necessary.
Oh,
Yes,
and
yeah,
it's so enlightening when you go in there and you're like, and I know there's sometimes physical pain, there's emotional pain,
sure, honey.
but when you come through the other side of that and you're kind of going, oh man,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
was so worth it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. My guides say, beautiful, Siobhan, just such a delight, sweetheart. I just adore you. Yeah, my guides say, face your fears, feel your feelings, find your freedom, in that
Yeah.
order of things, you know. And like you're saying, sure, we've all distracted ourselves and, you know, been, you know, thinking of everything but how are we right in this moment, you know, everything but that.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
that becomes the focus, like we're saying. And, you know, feeling the energies get higher and higher, as I'm sure we are both feeling and many people are feeling. And, you know, the word intensity comes up a lot, how there are sort of waves of this light and activation energy that is kind of moving through the world right now. And, you know, the astrology and all that plays a part in it. But, you know, like we're saying here, being able to hold the center in ourselves, you know, and for ourselves. And we were both saying, I'm sure you're okay here, you know, both of us have had relationships end in the last little while.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, part of this whole purification process, that not everyone is going with us on this little journey here. And it doesn't make us right or wrong, good or bad. It just, you know, we have to keep learning how to, and have to, in quotes, trusting, you know,
Yeah.
our inner guidance, and honoring that.
Yeah, and that's the difficult part for me, because say letting go of people, you know, because I form attachments, and in that is the learning that we need to not be so attached. And I went through
Uh-huh.
there a period of time there. It would be, well, since this year came in, really, there's
Yeah,
been a lot of me having to let go of people,
yeah,
having to speak my truth. And in some cases, you know, I was speaking my truth from a hurt place, so I ended up hurting somebody else.
of course.
But you know, it's not that I wanted to hurt them. It was just
Sure.
that I needed to speak my truth, and they needed to hear my truth. And that's very difficult, because then other people form opinions, and then you're dealing with all of their stuff that has nothing got to do with you.
Yeah.
And I find then that there, I think it was a couple, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went through this phase of detach.
Oh my God, the Scorpio full
Detach.
moon was kicked everyone's ass, didn't it?
Yeah, detach, 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 Yvonne. And I could see all these people or scenarios or whatever, and I was detach, detach, detach. And I could see how I really do become attached.
Sure, hun.
So,
Yeah,
and especially with you know, when it's a love connection, and
right.
you're wanting everything to be perfect, and you're wanting this person to be with you, or you were wanting to be with that person, and
Sure.
that's the hardest connection as well to kind of break free from. And you know, in some ways, I know, say for example, my partnership, he has moved aside to let me fly, and I know that,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's painful. But yes, even though I said, you know, I have to walk away, I know he's doing it for my good, because he knows that I need to fly higher. So, as you
sure.
said, not everybody can walk the path with us. And I often feel it's lonely, Lou.
Oh God, yes.
You know, it
Sure,
becomes so lonely, and
sure.
you think to yourself, okay, you know, these people, I'm letting these people go, or we're being, you know, detached or whatever from each
Yes,
other. And
yes,
then you question yourself, is it my ego? Is it me thinking that I'm better than these people? What is it? So I've gone through all of that
sure.
and trying to figure it, because I know that's what's been projected onto me in some ways as well, from maybe the fallout from some of these things. But it's like, yeah, it's a difficult one. But
Yeah,
yeah, as you say, it's the trust. And that's, you know, there's
sure.
times when you're there going, I don't know if this is my truth, you know, but yet then something else will come along, and something else would show you that, yes, this is exactly where you need to be, and exactly where you need to go.
Yes, yes. Can I give you a story from yesterday that
Oh,
just is my
please, yeah.
demonstration to that? Yeah, no, I just 100% relate to what you've been sharing there. That's gorgeous. So yesterday we're doing our weekly house clean here with my housemate John Cully, and I was doing you say the hoovering here, we say the vacuuming, you know, in the States,
Yeah.
and so I'm doing that. And I'm finishing up. It's about the end of our. It's the last job on my list there. So I just got onto Spotify again, and I played something to play when I put my phone down, and nothing's happening. And I had one door closed and one door open, and my housemate opened the front door, and the door that was open closed, and the door that was closed open. And at the end of my vacuuming, the music comes on, and it's Declan O'Rourke singing, "The first thing I want you to know is that everything is going to be all right." And
Oh
I'm
my
going,
God.
well, hello. Yes, that's very encouraging, my friends. Thank you. You know, yes, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, message received.
Yes.
So yeah, it's I mean, that you're the first person I've shared that story with, so that's just a joy. But sweetheart, you know, this theme comes up. I mean, you're actually the 15th video I've done this week.
Wow, 15!
Yeah,
My
yeah,
gosh, you're
yeah,
busy.
yeah. Well, I mean, this is the greatest resource I have right now are the other conscious people in my life, like yourself here,
Yeah.
and you know, having these conversations and sharing them with other people, I think is really valuable. And of course, I love hanging out with you and the rest of my conscious friends. It's a joy, and I feel like this is the greatest resource that I have aside from spirit. You know,
Yes, yes,
right?
I
But
agree. Yeah.
thank you. But the theme, what I wanted to share here with you is that every one of us is just really being guided, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, you know, every
Yes.
day, like you're saying, and letting go of our attachments creates that space for grace. So anyway, that lovely little story from yesterday was just a
I
little
know, that's so cool.
icing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
is that the theme that you're getting from your guides as well, about really centering?
Yeah, yeah. Like when you're saying go deeper there. I had a healing yesterday evening. It's with this lovely man who was sending me some healing, and um, before he sent it, he spoke to me about Lemuria, which is really coming in stronger with me in the last few months.
Great.
And a lot of the time when I would journey, say shamanically, I'd go straight into water, and I don't like the water. I nearly drowned in this lifetime. Do not like water. Don't
I
like it
see.
on my face.
I
But
see.
yesterday, when he was sending the healing, I went right in and I went down, but I came up again, and then I went down a second time, and it was like I lifted something way, way deep, and I lifted it up, and up rose a version of myself.
Wow.
The
Beautiful.
depths of the depths of the depths of the depths of the
Wow.
depths.
Wow.
And I cried and I rejoiced, because I was like, oh my God, there's the part of me now that I have kept buried
Yes.
in the depths of this
Yes.
water because of my fear, and I wouldn't go into it. Like, I didn't know she was there really until yesterday.
Sure.
So that's
Wow.
you're going in deep. Yeah. And I just love it, because I
Beautiful.
say to God all the time,
Yeah.
show me what to do and I'll do it.
Sure.
And I don't, like, you know, I'm 50 years of age now. I don't feel I'm going to be around this planet for another 50. So I want to do my shit while I'm here.
Of
So
course.
just show me, bring
Yeah.
it. And
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
not going to do me any harm. It's doing me more harm holding on to it.
Well,
So,
darling, you're you know, bless your heart. You're crystal clear, my friend. Your channel guidance is just laser beam sharp. Yeah.
there won't be anybody watching this going, I don't know what she's saying there. I don't know if I'm getting it. But they'll know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
So,
Oh, of course.
yeah.
Of course. Well, you know, that was just such a beautiful thing you just shared, Siobhan.
Yeah.
You know, because it really is at the depth of our fears that we get our power back.
Yeah. And
You know.
apparently the bear came in, the gentleman told me afterwards, bear came in and gave him the message to relate to me that that's where I would find my power, was within the water that I have a fear of. And as he said it back to me, I was kind of sitting there going, I had got into the bath at this point, and in reality, I was in the bath after the healing, and I kind of went, do you know what? I actually felt fine.
Yeah.
So really and truly, I could identify,
Sure. Sure.
the power is always there in the fear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. And courage, you know, to face our fears, and faith that God will bring us through our fears, you know,
Always.
right? And all the prayers, you know, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou
No
art
evil
with me
shall I
always.
fear. Yeah.
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 And this is truly that time, because you know, we're talking about the posts we put up, and we're probably listening to some of the same videos, Judy Mikovits and Rashid Buttar and David.
Oh, Rashid, yes, Rashid, yes.
Yeah.
I might have, he's definitely, his name rings a bell. I'm not so sure about the first person you mentioned, but I wouldn't always know the name, but I could be watching stuff. But Rashid, yes, I've definitely watched a bit of his stuff. Yeah.
You know, they're basically all Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you know, right? They're all basically saying the same thing. Look, folks, the official story is crazy, and for you to believe it is crazy. So we know it's a big, but so this is like 9/11 on steroids, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Planetary 9/11, you know, where we're all being gaslit, as the saying goes, to believe something that isn't true in order to fill in the blank, my friends, you know.
Yeah, and when you start to dig in deep there, Lou, it's a mind-boggling maze of,
Yeah,
you know, stuff that has been going on for years and years
that's
and
right.
years and
That's
years,
right.
decades, you know, and I was listening to a good bit of it, and now I've kind of pulled away a little bit because, you know, when you start going into that, then it's like you kind of go, what's real? What isn't real? It's like, oh my God.
Sure.
So I try to stay in my
Yes,
own
I'm the
bubble
same.
as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But so again, like we're saying, Siobhan, you know, it's like, look, folks, face your fears, feel your feelings, grief, anger, sorrow, whatever, and
Yeah.
find that freedom to trust yourself, you know, and then, as we're saying here, you know, ask God to guide you, ask God to
Yes,
show you what the next step is,
for sure.
you
For
know.
sure. Because God for me is my, you know, my rock.
Yeah,
And I have conversations with God every day. And they're
yeah,
not always pretty, but most of the time they are. So, you know, I've learned so much. Because it's like there in, I think it was 2019 or 2018 in
yeah,
November, I was in Italy, and
yeah,
I was brought to a church, and I took down a lot of writing, and I cried in the church and everything. And then I was
well,
back in the hotel, I think no, it could have been the next night. And I was writing all this stuff down. It was God was speaking to me, and I was writing it down, and I was crying, going, no, no, no. I said, no. I kept going, no, this can't be me. This can't be me. And he made me write down, Siobhan, do you think I don't know what I'm doing?
right, right,
So I kind of went, okay, yeah, because I kept going, no, this can't be me, this can't be me, this can't be me. And I was crying and everything, and I was going,
sure.
no, 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 you can't. So yeah, he likes to remind me that he is actually does know what he's doing, despite
God,
me
yes.
thinking that I'm the one that knows what I'm doing.
Sure, sure, sure. Well, we're all in the same boat, sweetheart. You know, we've all got minds of our own, and you know, that's the illusion of separation that we
Yes,
dance with. You know, the challenge, you know, again in this powerful chapter of our lives, you know, is that you know, we do have some idea of what's happening and why it's happening and what to do about it,
yeah,
and you know, and that we have the ability to connect with God is. You know, the greatest gift in the world, especially in moments like this.
absolutely, because it's like it's that soul voice that I talk about as well, where I feel that's your spirit that's most connected with God, that speaks to you.
Yeah,
And if you can go in there and really hear that, rather than what's up here
sure,
and, you know, pulling you this way and pulling you that way,
sure.
the soul voice will only bring you one way, and that's within. So you won't
Yes,
be, you know.
yes,
So, and if we can trust that, but you know, it's like I said there about me and God. And in the early days, I was so full of my own fear and insecurity that if things weren't going the way that I thought they should, I thought God wasn't working for me, because I was only looking at things from my perspective in the way
sure,
that I understood them.
sure.
Whereas then I started to realize, hold on a minute, this God, this being, whatever way you want to call it, he does know what he's doing. Like, so yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, it's the daily dance, darling. You know, two steps up and one step back. I think I know, then I forget, then I doubt,
Yes.
then I.
And I need reminding.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So
But again, hun, you know, it's just this acceleration that we're living through right now of helping people to face our fears and to, you know, have compassion and mercy for our pain and fear and grief and sorrow and all of that. You know, and the solution isn't in the outer world at the moment. It has to come from the inside of us. You know,
yeah.
it comes from the inside out, and you know, just all this encouragement, you know, from Spirit over and over again. Go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. You know, then we can be some earthly good to the people in our lives.
Absolutely, because you know, I know we spoke about intensity there as well, and it's like, you know, we go around kind of going, oh my God, like, is it ever going to be over? You know, are we ever
Right,
going to stop
right, right,
ascending or going deeper or whatever?
right,
And the answer to that we all know is no. But
right.
it's just like the intensity of it, yeah, can be quite you know, draining on the physical body. But that's just because we're holding on to so much nonsense. You know,
Sure.
Spirit call it nonsense, I call it crap. So it's like, and that's
Same
what
thing.
it is. We're just holding, and the resistance is in us all the time,
Yeah,
even without us realizing it. So as
yeah,
soon as we start to feel like something at us, we're going, oh, what's that now? Why is that there? I wonder what. So instead of just kind of going, we don't need that. We want to know what it is. We want to know why it's there. We want to know, like, is it attached to something else? And
Sure.
I know it's good to understand that, but we spend too much time with the story.
Yeah.
Rather than just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, that's so well said. I mean, I'm sure, you see this too. This is what I see, Siobhan, is that, if I can help myself and the people I'm working with stay out of and move through self-judgment and self-doubt, then there is, again, that space for grace and healing and love and forgiveness and compassion. If we stay in our heads, then we stay in the story, as you say, and that's where we all lose ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that's, I can only say that because I know I was in mine for so long, and I
Sure.
still go up there. I have to pull myself. I have to remind myself all the time.
Sure. Likewise.
Because once you hit fear, that you can be sure that's up here.
Sure.
So
Sure.
and it, like, none of us are exempt from it, but it's just about knowing how to work through it, let it go, and release it,
Yes.
rather than sitting in it, and repeat.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just, we're all learning here, Lou, and
yeah.
as I said, some of the learning is not for the faint-hearted, but it's how we choose to learn. And, I wouldn't change any of it, not one bit of it.
Well, that's wisdom. That's wisdom, my dear friends, because this is, what we signed up for. And somewhere along the line, we consciously said, yes, I will go through this because it will serve me, and help me to
like
grow.
I said that to somebody here one day, you signed that contract, and they were like, oh, I must have been drunk when I signed that contract, because I don't remember. But, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
You signed up for it all.
Yes, that's my joke. Denial's not just a river in Egypt, Yeah, it's, do you know this book, Right Use of Will, by Siobhan Brady? It's quite good. I'll send you the audio book of it. It's really, it's about 6 hours on audio, and it's just God saying, I'm coming through this channel, like as you do. Yeah, and here is the challenge, everyone. I, God, cannot take your denial from you. You have to let that go. And then once you acknowledge that and let that go, then I can take it from you. But what you're in denial of, you're entirely on your own about that. You see, you're a sovereign being and you're creating your reality, and that's what I've created you to do. So doesn't that make such profound sense?
Oh, unbelievable. I'm just smiling from ear to ear when you say that, because I'd say to people, you need to let that go. And they go, but how do I do that? And I'd say, well, look, that's, say that's my pie right there.
Yeah.
You give that to God. And I said, he's putting out his hand, but what you're doing is you're taking it back. Are you serious?
Yeah, I just picked that up before this conversation for no logical reason. I'll bring that over to the desk. So there we go.
I had it sitting down there on the table, so I just pulled it into my hand.
Right,
so,
perfect.
So it's like I say to people, right? It's like that. You can either drop it,
right,
or you hand it to God and He's taking it. But what you're doing then is you're taking it back. You're not giving it fully to Him. So that makes such sense, because if you give it to Him, then you can let it go.
Sure. Well, that's brilliant.
It for you, or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. For me personally, that's where I work with forgiveness. Forgiveness brings us back to peace. And when we're back to peace, then we've let it go.
Yeah.
But if we can't, don't, or won't forgive ourselves or each other, then we're still stuck in the drama.
Yeah.
That's the way I work with that.
Yeah, because if we're still worried, about how we've been treated or what people are saying or anything like that, we're still owning the story. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Well, hun, I'd love to just chat here with you all day. It'd be a pleasure, and come and hang out and have a hug and play some music and sing and all that.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's keep that on our list. What part
sure.
Are you in the Midlands? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in Mullingar.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's say we're coming down the home stretch here. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to share, or any messages? Do you want to give us some music or a channeling or whatever you like here today?
No, I'm pretty good. I'm as I said, I'm minding myself at the moment, so I'm resting up. So
all right.
I think
That's
even
good.
to do this today was
okay.
good.
Okay, great. We won't push.
No, I'm good, Lou. Yeah, thanks.
Sure, you're very welcome. Well, Siobhan, where do people find you if they want to come and get some of your wisdom and work with you?
Yeah, they'll find me on Facebook, Siobhan Brady, Spiritual Mentor. My website isn't fully up and running properly, so but you can email me on soulhealer44@gmail.com.
Great.
That's my email, and but basically on Facebook you'll get me there anyway, or get all my details there. Yeah,
Brilliant. Brilliant. Brilliant.
yeah.
Well, okay, my friend, thank you so much for your time. As always, it's just a joy to hang out
Oh,
with you.
thank you. That was great. Loved
Sure.
it.
Sure. Pleasure. All right, darling, love you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, thank you, Lou.
You're welcome. Peace and blessings.
God bless.
Okay.